Friday nights at Romano's family restaurant were usually loud with laughter, clinking glasses, and the sweet aroma of garlic bread. Families gathered, couples leaned close over candlelight, and children giggled as waiters carried towering plates of spaghetti. To most, it was a place of comfort. But for Ryan Carter, Friday nights at Romano's meant something deeper. For 3 years, ever since the accident that claimed his wife's life, Ryan had been bringing his 8-year-old daughter, Zoe, to the little Italian place down the street. They would always sit in the corner booth, order a pepperoni pizza, and talk about school, homework, and the silly cartoons Zoe loved. Romano's wasn't just dinner, it was their ritual, their anchor, the piece of normalcy he promised to hold on to for his daughter. Ryan was a big man, broad-shouldered with eyes that seemed to carry too many memories for someone only in his 30s. To strangers, he looked like an ordinary single dad, just trying to keep it together. What they didn't know was that he had once been a Navy SEAL, a man who had fought in deserts and oceans, who had learned to stay invisible, blend into crowds, and carry his pain silently. Now, he fixed leaky pipes and faulty water heaters, living a quiet life in a small town, raising his daughter as best as he could. That Friday night, though, the peace shattered. Zoe was sipping her soda when her small hand tugged at Ryan's sleeve. "Daddy," she whispered, her eyes wide, "that lady looks scared." Ryan turned. At the far side of the restaurant, a young woman, dark hair, sharp eyes, dressed in a neat business suit, was being cornered by 3 men in expensive suits. Their voices were low, but the menace was clear. "You're going to drop the case," one of them growled. "You don't know who you're dealing with." The woman, Rebecca Martinez, tried to stand her ground. "The truth deserves to be heard," she shot back, though her hands trembled as she clutched her bag. The restaurant grew quiet. Forks froze mid-air. Waiters pretended not to notice. No one moved. Ryan's heart hammered. Every instinct told him to stay seated, keep Zoe safe, let someone else handle it. But then he saw Rebecca's eyes, defiant, yet desperate, and he remembered the words of his fallen commanding officer, "A man's strength is measured not by how he fights wars, but by how he protects the innocent." Ryan rose. What happened next lasted only 15 seconds, but it would be talked about for years in that town. The first man lunged, and Ryan sidestepped with precision, twisting the man's wrist and sending him crashing into a table. The second swung wildly, but Ryan deflected, driving his elbow into the attacker's ribs with practiced efficiency. The third reached for Rebecca, but Ryan moved faster, sweeping his legs out from under him and pinning him to the ground. Gasps filled the restaurant. Dishes clattered. People stared in shock. And then Zoe's voice, soft, innocent, cut through the silence. "My daddy was in the Navy." The room fell even quieter. Rebecca looked up at Ryan, not just with gratitude, but with recognition. Because Rebecca Martinez was no ordinary woman in trouble. She was the daughter of Captain Benjamin Rodriguez, Ryan's former commanding officer, the man who had died in battle saving Ryan's life. And fate, it seemed, had just tied their lives together. Over the next days, Ryan learned the truth. Rebecca was a lawyer, working on a dangerous case against a corrupt defense contractor. The same company that had supplied faulty equipment to soldiers overseas, the same faulty gear that had contributed to Captain Rodriguez's death. They wanted her silent, and they would stop at nothing. Ryan had walked away from violence years ago, choosing fatherhood and peace over the battlefield. But now violence had followed him home. Protecting Rebecca meant stepping back into the shadows of his past. The challenges piled high. First, the threats grew worse. Anonymous phone calls at night. A car tailing Rebecca on her way to work. Shadows lurking near her apartment. Ryan couldn't ignore it. Zoe's safety was on the line, too. Second, Ryan battled his own guilt. Every time he looked at Rebecca, he remembered the night Captain Rodriguez fell. Could he really protect his daughter, the captain's daughter, when he had failed to save the man himself? And third, the small town they lived in was no battlefield. Here, enemies didn't come wearing uniforms. They came in business suits, wielding money, influence, and hidden power. Fighting them wasn't just about fists, it was about outsmarting them, exposing the truth before they destroyed more lives. Ryan and Rebecca grew closer as they faced danger side by side. She saw the gentle father behind the soldier's eyes. He saw the courage she carried, not just from her father's bloodline, but from her own spirit. Zoe adored her too, sneaking drawings into Rebecca's briefcase, little stick figures of the three of them standing strong together. But the threats escalated into violence. One night, Ryan's house was broken into. He fought the intruders off, but it was Zoe's frightened scream that nearly broke him. "Daddy, don't leave me," she cried, clinging to him. In that moment, Ryan realized this wasn't just about protecting Rebecca anymore. It was about protecting the family he never knew he had been given. The climax came in a courtroom, where Rebecca finally presented her case. With Ryan watching from the back, she revealed documents, testimonies, and evidence of the defense contractor's lies. But just as the truth came out, one of the men from that night at Romano's tried to silence her forever. Ryan was there. 15 seconds was all it took again. But this time, he wasn't just fighting as a Navy SEAL. He was fighting as a father. As a protector. As a man honoring the sacrifice of his fallen captain. The courtroom erupted, the attackers were arrested, and justice was finally served. In the end, Rebecca won her case. The contractor was exposed. Lives would be saved. But the greatest victory was quieter, the bond that formed between Ryan, Zoe, and Rebecca. On their next Friday night at Romano's, Zoe leaned against Rebecca and grinned. "Daddy," she whispered, "can we keep her?" Ryan laughed, tears stinging his eyes. For the first time in years, he felt something he thought was gone forever. Hope. The past had taken so much from him. But fate had given him something back, a second chance at family, at love, at life. Message to viewers. This story reminds us that heroes don't stop being heroes when the battlefield ends. Sometimes, the bravest battles are fought at home. In the quiet moments when you choose to stand up for what's right, to protect the vulnerable, and to love without fear. If this story touched your heart, I'd love to hear from you. Drop your thoughts in the comments below, share your struggles, your victories, or even a moment when kindness changed your life. And don't forget to subscribe to Kindness Wins for more stories of courage, hope, and the power of the human spirit. Because together, kindness truly wins.